Hello, I'm Siamecat. I've been studying games that have so many genres, they don't know what they're trying to be anymore. There's a puzzle action adventure RPG that's a great example of this. Yeah, it's Paper Mario the Origami King. Was anyone really surprised?
Paper Mario the Origami King released on the Switch in 2020. When this game was first announced, some thought it would be very good, some were cautiously optimistic, and some dismissed it because it wasn't Thousand Year Door. I was just confused as to why it was announced 2 months before it released. As I thought about it more, I realized it was probably because Nintendo didn't have much faith that the game would sell well, which was not a good sign. When people played Origami King, they realized that big surprise, it's a good game. Even though Color Splash was a good game too, but no one knew that because no one played Color Splash. It's a shame Color Splash didn't sell well, but I guess that's what happens when a company loses the trust of their customers. Paper Mario the Origami King actually tries something new with its story. There's a new villain that isn't Bowser. That's something the series hasn't seen in 14 years. A toad named the Origami Craftsman uses a forbidden technique known as the Fold of Life to make people made out of origami. He creates Ollie and his sister Olivia for the Origami Festival in Toad Town.
I'm surprised the Mushroom Kingdom hasn't learned this yet.
Festivals always end in disaster.
He never finished making Olivia, though. Instead, Ollie does that, which will be very important for the end of the game. Ollie turns against the person who made him for reasons that will be explained later. Ollie's plans to fold every flat paper being into origami, especially the toads. Okay, now it's understandable. Ollie summons 5 streamers that prevent access to Peach's castle and moves Peach's castle to the top of a volcano. So it's up to Mario and Olivia to unravel the 5 streamers and stop Ollie from folding everyone into origami. The world in Origami King is open and interconnected for the first time since Thousand Year Door, which definitely helps make it feel more like a classic Paper Mario game. This is kinda random, but why is Mario's nose suddenly bigger? It looks wrong. The writing isn't Color Splash levels of hilarious, but there are still lots of good jokes throughout. In fact, the game tries to be a little different from Color Splash anyway. It takes itself more seriously. Olivia is the floating tutorial character this time around. She's definitely much better than Kirsty, but Huey from Color Splash is still the best. Something all 3 characters have in common is that they all sacrifice themselves at the end of the game. Do it twice and it starts to get old. Do it 3 times and it starts to get predictable. Surely they won't do this for the 4th time in a row in the next Paper Mario game, right?
They probably will.
Origami King was definitely made with completionists in mind. There are so many collectibles to find throughout the world. Throwing confetti into holes to fill them in replaces painting colorless spots in Color Splash. What? What? You didn't know you could throw confetti at all of life's problems? Sir, please pay your taxes. Oh no! There are also treasures and toads to find. The toads are the most plentiful, so finding all of them can be really tricky, as some of them are hidden in very devious spots. Every toad you save will have a funny line or two, so you know that encouraged me to find them all. Every now and then you'll activate a 1000-fold arms magic circle that these usually allow you to manipulate the environment to solve puzzles. The trailers made it seem like this was a really important feature, but it's not that important. Using it in battle though is really fun, especially because it has motion controls. Oh, I'm supposed to be mindful of my surroundings? You can't tell me what to do, Olivia! Origami King takes a page from Super Paper Mario by having occasional real-time battles. They aren't the most involved because all you can really do is walk up slowly and hammer, but they're still a welcome addition. More unique characters and a slightly better story would be nice, but the gameplay is what will make or break this game. So do you get experience points for winning battles?
Nope!
The battle system is nothing like Sticker Star and Color Splash, which is definitely for the better. Every battle starts with a puzzle to solve. You have to spin and pull enemies into a line formation or a 2x2 group formation. It's a neat idea, but Paper Mario was never a puzzle game before. The puzzles in the first chapter can be solved by a first grader, but late game, the puzzles will leave you stumped for minutes, meaning you'll constantly have to buy more time with coins. If you fail, you can just brute force your way through the fight, but you won't have increased attack, the enemies won't be lined up correctly, and you'll be open to attacks. Attacks that can sometimes take a quarter of your HP. The game becomes a lot harder if you're not good at solving puzzles. Finally, solving a particularly difficult one is very satisfying, though. The puzzles don't have a lot of variety. There is some variety, like boos disappearing, forcing you to remember where they were, and the cutout soldiers increasing and decreasing in number when you spin them around. There just isn't enough variety to warrant a battle system like this. I would add more enemies that change the way you solve the puzzles, and more formations to put enemies in. The action phase of the battles is the most disappointing aspect of the game for me. There is no strategy. At the very least, your attacks are no longer one-time use items, which is a huge step forward. You jump on line formations and you hammer 2x2 group formations. That's it. Your actions are predetermined by how you line up the enemies. You don't get XP for winning battles. You get more HP by finding HP up hearts like in Sticker Star. You do get coins for winning battles, which can be used to buy better beats and hammers that do more damage. Though they do break after a certain number of uses. Winning battles to get coins to buy better equipment. It is technically a progression system. It's a budget progression system that doesn't taste as good as the real one, but it's still a progression system. I can't believe I'm saying this, but partners are back. There's Bobby, Professor Toad, Kamek, and Bowser. They're not the same as they were before, though. They could have been implemented better. They leave the party after the chapter you meet them in, and you can't control them in battle. They have one attack they use automatically. Boss battles are nothing like regular battles in this game. Your goal is to rearrange arrows to make a path for Mario to follow, all while pressing switches to activate special attacks and collecting attack and turn multipliers. It's very complicated and overwhelming, especially when you don't know what to do. Creating a path for Mario is only half of what you're in for, as you also need to figure out the boss's weakness and take advantage of it. Take the Fire Elemental, for instance. When you put out all of its flaming feathers, leaving it defenseless, your first instinct would be to use the Thousandfold Arms. If your Thousandfold Arms attack doesn't finish it, it will regenerate all its HP! There are hints you can grab that tell you about this stuff, but there's a very good chance you won't get that specific hint until it's too late. There's this one phase in the Ice Elemental fight where you have to remember the exact path you have to take, and I couldn't do it. So I took a screenshot of the correct path so I didn't have to remember it.
I have no shame.
At the end of the rubber band fight, you have less than a second to grab it and fling it away. If you fail 2 or 3 times, you just die and have to restart the entire battle. Not all boss battles are bad, just most of them. Colored Pencils is cool because what you're supposed to do is well telegraphed for once. Scissors is a great boss. At first, Scissors sheathes his blades, but if you break the sheath, you'll have to dodge attacks that can cut you in half instantly. What makes this okay when I said the end of the rubber band fight is lame? Well, dodging Scissors is easy, but grabbing rubber band is brutally difficult. Chapter 1 is special to me. I don't know, I guess I just really like the visual design for areas like Whispering Woods and Overlook Mountain. Oh, and the music for Overlook Mountain? Best song in the game. Leave it to me to have the unpopular opinions. Chapter 2 is my least favorite chapter in the game. So many people say Chapter 2 is the highlight of the game, and you can stop playing after Chapter 2. But playing this chapter, you have to deal with annoying sliding block puzzles, a whole lot of downtime in Shogun Studios where you're just walking into empty buildings over and over again, and Rubber Band the frustrating. The one part of the chapter I do like is the build-up to Rubber Band. You get to be an actor. Yeah, it's not a big surprise I would like this part. Chapter 3 starts off with Ollie crushing Olivia with a giant rock. We could have just gave up and went home, but no. Bobby had to die to save Olivia. He blows himself up, destroying the rock.
Titanic? Nah, this is an emotional scene done right. And no, I'm not being sarcastic.
The rest of the chapter takes place in a desert, but this area is actually a lot more unique than you would think. Hole Punch punched a hole in the sky, removing the sun. As a result, Sniff City with all its neon lights stands out as one of the most unique locations in the game. This game surprisingly has a lot of musical numbers. It's a weird direction the Mario series has been taking since 2017. Chapter 3 has this temple summoning ritual and a dance party with faceless toads. A dance party with faceless toads! How does one come up with this stuff? I need to know! This is a much more creative desert chapter than Chapter 2 from Paper Mario 64. Also, ever since I played the first 2 games, I've always wanted a Toad partner. And now we finally got one in Professor Toad. He's my favorite character in the game, by the way. Chapter 4 is about sailing, discovering islands, diving for treasure. Yeah, it's basically a mini Wind Waker. There's also a part where Mario must overcome the trials of power, wisdom, and courage. Okay, they're not hiding it anymore. Chapter 4 is when this game becomes The Legend of Paper Mario, Origami of Time. Also, this is the first ocean chapter in a Paper Mario game to not have a pirate theme, which probably led to the battle theme we got for this chapter, which is excellent. Chapter 5 is probably my favorite chapter. The first half is great because Kamek and Bowser Jr. are on your side, which results in some hilarious dialogue. The second half is phenomenal. It starts with an all-out war between Flat Paper and Origami. Then you take a quick detour to pick up a key, and when you return, you find out that everyone has been cut to pieces. Before fighting Scissors, you have to fight this monstrosity made out of people's faces. I've said in the past that the paper theme should be nothing more than an art style, but I've just been proven wrong. This kind of creativity can only happen in Paper Mario. If you put this kind of body horror in a game where the characters are not made out of paper, it would be rated M for Mario. The first phase of the final battle is easy, the second phase just makes you shake the controller a whole lot, and the last phase is just a puzzle with QuickTime events. The second and third phases aren't that interesting gameplay-wise, but thematically they're pretty cool. Ollie hates all toads. According to him, if you've seen one, you've seen them all. So in other words, he's a Paper Mario fan. It turns out the reason Ollie hates the toads is because his creator wrote a message on it. For Ollie to be so angry, you'd expect the message to be less than positive, right? Yeah, I don't think Ollie can read. Ollie folded 999 origami crayons, believing that if he folded 1,000, he would have any wish granted. So Olivia folds the final crane and wishes that everything Ollie did would be undone. That includes folding Olivia, so she dies for dramatic effect, just like the last two games that came before. This ending becomes even more confusing when you realize she could have just reworded the wish to exclude herself. And that's Paper Mario the Origami King. We made a lot of friends along the way and they all died. Except Professor Toad. He's too cool to die. This game takes 4 steps forward and 2 steps back. The series is getting closer with every game, but it still has problems. There are 2 directions the series can take. It can return to the formula that worked in the past, or stop pretending to be an RPG and become an action-adventure series without the RPG elements. Just drop turn-based battles entirely if that's what it takes. Super Paper Mario was a puzzle platformer and that game had decent enough gameplay, and Origami King has some pretty good real-time battles, so just make that the focus. Paper Mario 64 was a great start, Thousand Year Door was an unforgettable experience, Super Paper Mario was different but still amazing, Sticker Star can be forgotten for all I care, Color Splash redeemed the Sticker Star formula, and Origami King continues to innovate while taking a little bit of inspiration from its roots. As for the future of the series, whatever it ends up being can only get better from here.
Okay, that's cool and all, but how hard is it to stay consistent? The only thing that stayed consistent throughout the entire series is the save block.